When I was in my early 20s, I used to work doing stock at a supermarket. They had a maintenance department there, the janitors, and many of them looked like they were just released from prison. Around this time, I was socially awkward, I didn't fit in at work, but Ayce from maintenance, he started talking to me. I guess he was trying to become my friend. I quickly realized he was not like the other people in the store. He was very smart and was making me feel good about myself. Ayce was this scary, bony-looking, intense middle-aged man. He was smart, or maybe shrewd is the word, but since he worked in maintenance, it was easy to think otherwise. Some of the managers viewed Ayce as the #1 janitor since he worked so hard. One day a manager asked me to work with Alex because there were too many people in stock, and I didn't know what to do, so I was just standing around. But Ayce didn't seem to care. He would clean up disgusting messes like bathroom feces, bugs, rats, meat. I just watched, thinking, how could he do this? I helped him out a few times after this. I usually messed things up since I didn't know maintenance, but he didn't mind. He was amused by me, my antics, and told me I was different from the other kids. I quickly realized there was something strange about him. One day, he painted the supermarket for no pay. When his shift was over, he would punch out on time, then complete his work off the... At one time, when his shift was over, he punched out on time, then completed his work off the clock. He went above and beyond what he's required to do. His dedication and hard work doesn't make any sense. He's not loyal to the supermarket, managers, or anything like that. It's very strange. To management's face, he is the perfect maintenance employee, but behind their back, he is bitter and angry. Ayce hides his true face well. I guess he needed the job, but he didn't ask for a promotion or anything. It was weird. He was working just to fly under the radar and not be noticed, it seems. When no one is around, he talks to himself. It sounds like he is angry. I heard him say things like, "Soon they'll see." It sounded pretty scary. Ayce was paranoid too. He was always watching the cameras. He was always checking to see if people were watching, and he would say there were cameras and voice recorders and things like phones when there clearly weren't. I got the impression Ayce hated everyone in the store, including me. It was just a sixth sense I had, but who knows? To my face, he was really nice and was trying to make me think I was his friend, and I just didn't trust him. I sort of became friendly with him, though, so he would share private things with me. One day he told me how he left his cell phone in the manager's office, and it mysteriously vanished. He thought a female manager stole it because he told me he had pictures of an overflowing compactor on his phone. Jokingly, I told him, yeah, it's a real possibility, although I knew there was no reason she'd want the phone. It was old, outdated, and cracked, plus the pictures he had weren't even that big of a deal. Another day, Ayce told me he could see the future since he used a lot of drugs when he was younger. He feels he possesses some kind of psychic ability and uses more of his brain than the average human. So he proceeded to tell me throughout his life he would get visions, and every time he got the vision it came true. For instance, he predicted getting a flat tire in the morning, then BAM! That night his tire went flat. I tried my hardest not to laugh. He also foresaw his brother's death. I have no idea why he was telling me this. Finally, he said when it hit him, wham! He had the vision. He said, I'm going to be incredibly rich, incredibly famous. He said not just rich and famous, super rich, super famous. He saw me in a mansion with a lot of money. I mean, this particular vision sounded pretty accurate, but I hardly think he has a sixth sense, and my suspicions began to rise. One Saturday night I was watching America's Most Wanted, and there was a case where the killer was unknown. Few clues were left behind. The killer murdered his victims, then mopped up the crime scene with bleach. They said the killer was likely from New York or New Jersey. The murderer was methodical and driven, and I immediately thought of Ayce. Then when they showed the composite sketch, it looked a lot like Ayce. The next case was about an FBI top sex offender and blah, blah, blah. I felt like Alex Ayce had to be the fugitive. I just didn't know which one. Even though I didn't want to get involved, in someone else's business, I decided to write America's Most Wanted a lengthy email about Ayce. I said how the guy is very suspicious and might be a fugitive. I included his address, phone number, where he works. I included my name and all my personal information so I would get the possible reward money. I completely forgot about sending the email. Then half a week later, I got a phone call from the FBI. They left a message on my home answering machine and cell phone answering machine. It was a scary cop with an Italian last name saying, "We're the FBI, and we want to talk to you about your tip. Please call us back." The message scared me, so I played it for my mom. She became all frantic. She asked, "What did you do?" I said, "I sent a tip." She said, "Why?" I started getting upset. I said, "I don't know. I thought he was a fugitive. I'm sorry." So the next day my mom called the number. She said the officer had no sense of humor. He sounded like a hardened cop. She tried explaining to the guy I was just a kid with too much time on his hands. He didn't find it funny and screamed, "You can't just write the FBI because you're suspicious." He was mostly annoyed that I was wasting their valuable time and resources, but at least it was over, or so I thought. The next few days, weeks, months, I became very scared of Alex Ayce. I didn't want him to find out. I was afraid the FBI agent might have contacted Ayce. I was fearful that Ayce may know someone who works with the FBI, so he'd find out about my tip. If he found out about the tip, he'd know it was me, because one day, right to his face, I asked him if he was a fugitive or serial killer. He freaked out, so Ayce knew I was suspicious of him. Not only that, but Alex Ayce would constantly talk about hidden cameras and tape recorders. One day I lost my car and house keys at work. I got really scared it fell into Ayce's hands, and he was bugging my car and house with voice-activated tape recorders. One night after I got ready for bed, I heard a noise upstairs, but I was too lazy to find out what it was. So I exclaimed, "Mother, is that you?" But I got no answer. I had been extremely paranoid since submitting my tip to the FBI, and I thought Ayce was coming to get me. So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, Ayce is in the house and he's getting ready to kill me. So eventually I fall asleep with this thought in my head. It all came true in my dream. Ayce was in my house. He was looking for revenge. Since the guy is intense at work, there was no stopping him from brutally murdering my family. My mom, my stepdad, my brother, they all became victims of Ayce. It was like some corny horror movie. I was helpless. After he killed each person, he would reload his shotgun and then say something witty like, "You've just been iced." Then he was getting ready to come into my room. They were all dead. It was just me and Ayce. Somehow a pistol appeared beside my bed, so I shot him, but his face reformed and he said, "You shot me." Ayce was not human. He was determined. Then he said, "You shouldn't have called the FBI on me, little boy." Horrified, I wanted to die. I woke up. It was 4 a.m. in the morning. My heart was racing. I was sweating. My adrenaline was pumping. I ran downstairs, opened the door to my mom's room, woke her up out of a sound sleep, frantically saying, "Mom! Mom! I think Alex Ayce is in the house!" She had no idea what I was talking about. So I had to explain, "Remember that guy I wrote the FBI about?" Calmly and groggily, my mom said, "Yeah." I said, "I think he may be here." I tried telling her to wake up the whole house. Check every room for him. Call the police. But she thought I was acting hysterical, irrational, crazy. She told me, "Calm down and go back to bed." I said, "I can't go to bed. He will kill me. You have no idea how insane he is." Eventually, she was able to calm me down. I went back to my room, checked under my bed in my closet. After lying awake, listening for loud noises for about 2 hours, I fell back to sleep. The next day at the supermarket, I saw Alex Ayce. I said hello, and he said hi, like nothing had happened. Occasionally, when Alex Ayce would see me at work, he'd real creepily yell, "Help me!" I thought he was talking like the Beatles help, like all I need is a girl and she will help my life, but now I think he was almost mocking me. I also gave Alex Ayce a ride home from work once. He kind of pressured me into it because he drove his bike to work. I once contacted America's Most Wanted about Alex Ayce because I suspected he was a fugitive on the run. The FBI even called my mom about it. Alex Ayce would come on my line when I was working at Woolbaum's. I viewed him as the creepy customer. I mean, he lived right there. I remember Alex Ayce talking to me about pure evil. He said something like, "Kid, you have a light that follows you around. Most people you've encountered aren't pure evil. When you encounter someone who is pure evil, your body will feel cold and you'll know it," implying I've been sheltered. He said, "I don't know who put it here, but pure evil exists." I guess he was saying, even if most of the people who hurt me are bad, they aren't pure evil. But then again, the guy was clearly crazy too. I shouldn't quote him like he's some kind of prophet. Alex Ayce, he told me, he gave me advice on rich girls. He said, I can get a rich girl if I want one. He told me I have the intelligence, the good looks, among other things. He said, I impress him, and that's a hard thing to do. He told me all I have to do is go up to a place like the Hamptons. Alex Ayce told me I could get a rich girl because I impress him. All I have to do is go to a place like the Hamptons where the rich people are, look for girls. The rich people are just like me and him, and some of them will be impressed by me. I told Alex Ayce how my dream was, how I wanted to live on a coach tour bus. And everybody was telling me how my dream was unrealistic and stupid. But Alex Ayce told me they're the ones who are stupid. And it would be great living on a coach tour bus. It would be better than settling down with a family. I told him that was the joke. These are real conversations I had with Alex Ayce. I guess it would be cool living on a coach tour bus with all your friends partying, but, you need to be rich to do that. At the supermarket, I used to have long daily conversations with Alex Ayce. At one point, he was the only person I would really talk to. One day after the FBI thing happened, we were in the break room and a married 30-year-old man walks in and he tries to join our conversation by telling us a dirty story. He said, at my other job, a cable job, he said, a woman started to take her top off, so I had to tell her, I'm married, but it was so hot. Then he looks at me, and I was awkward since I was a virgin at the time. Then he looked at Alex Ayce, who was, and he's like, forget these two. I'm not talking to these two about a hot story, and he leaves. Alex Ayce once asked me for an autographed picture, because he said I was going to be famous, and he wanted a picture of me before I got famous. Well, I printed out a very large, flamboyant picture of myself, framed it, and was all set to give it to him before my mom said, that's weird. She said, it's inappropriate. And she said, Alex Ayce might be a homosexual. In the summer In 2011, when I was really sick and delusional, I saw Alex Ayce on one of my walks. I started telling him how I got sexually abused in my childhood and said how my dad was responsible. I asked if he knew my father because I suspected Alex Ayce was a sexual abuser. He said my dad's name, and he's like, oh, I said my dad's name, and Alex Ayce said, oh, Bobby Kolaski, as if to imply he knew him. I told him how my dad had me get sexually abused on trains, at his work, at 7-Eleven, allowed multiple men to sexually abuse me at the same time. I told him how my dad allowed a man with HIV/AIDS to rape me. Alex Ayce said what I lived through was like the Holocaust. I told him after getting raped, I did things that I regretted, but it was not my fault. It was the pedophile's fault. And Alex Ayce said, I didn't know you were gay. I said, I'm not gay. I just reacted after getting raped. I was hysterical. I told Alex Ayce my mother can't see the sexual abuse. She doesn't believe it. And Alex Ayce said, it's like the song Mother's Little Helper by the Rolling Stones. She is neurotic, old, and doesn't want to see. He said, I have to do this on my own. Alex Ayce said, this is what he was referring to when he said I'd get rich and famous. He said he offered to take me to 7-Eleven. He offered to buy me a drink. Alex Ayce then gave me his number and said, look, kid, you have to do this yourself, but lawyers would be begging to take your case. He said, all I have to do is go to a lawyer, tell them my story, and they'd represent me for free, pro bono. There is so much proof that they'll want to represent me for the publicity. He even offered to go with me. And then in 2012, a few months after this happened, or years after this happened, a friend told me how Ayce no-showed work for a whole week, then came back, and according to this friend, he could only come back if he passed a drug test. Then he never came back, and apparently he no longer lives in my old hometown, and who knows where he is now. I guess he rode his bike into the sunset.